Start counting now. 5, 4, 3. Good morning. Here we are once again at the very, very sunny and lovely corner of Glenwood and Lunt. We are in the heart of Rogers Park. We are at the Heartland Cafe. It is the 7th of February, and we're up here on the stage. We're bringing you another edition of Live from the Heartland Radio. I am Michael James. I'm host for this morning's edition. And it's a pretty exciting day. There's a lot of activity here, and we have a very good lineup of folks to come up and share some news and information with you. First off, we're going to have Mark Kaplan from Northside Action for Justice. We'll be talking a little bit about the Wilson Yard project. And then we're going to have Julie Patterson, my most humble apologies. And Julie is going to talk about some environmentally oriented things and some work going on at the water school with a project called Beyond Today. And then we're going to have David F. James, who was a Tuskegee Airman and just came back from the inauguration, and he's going to share some stories and information about growing up in Chicago. All right. And I have one more guest who will be coming up. It'll be Olga Delgado she is the executive director of Earth Share of Illinois, and they're going to be having a big salsa dance and dinner event to raise money for their cause. That will be next week. All right, so let's get started. And I have my old friend Mark Kaplan here. Good morning to you, Mark.
Good morning.
I first met Mark way back when all of us were doing community organizing before it became popular and in vogue. We're glad it's back, and we're glad that Mark is still on the case. He's working with a group called Northside Action for Justice, located in Uptown. Mark, tell us a little bit about Northside Action for Justice and what work you are doing these days.
Okay. Northside Action for Justice is a grassroots community popular power organization, and we're actually not just in Uptown. We're organizing in Uptown, Edgewater, Rogers Park, Lincoln Square, West Rogers Park, and north of Howard. And actually our genesis is we're actually a merger of Courage, which was an Uptown organization, Community of Uptown Residents for Affordability and Justice, and the Rogers Park Community Action Network, which was very active in the Rogers Park community. And basically we organize door-to-door around the issues that are of most impact to low and moderate income residents of our communities, which are we're fighting to keep our communities affordable by preserving any existing low-cost housing and getting more affordable housing built. We're fighting to get more jobs in the community or in the area with justice, living wage jobs with benefits for the workers. We're fighting for community justice, in other words, to have a respectful atmosphere in the community with less violence between different people, and also dealing with the issue of the police and police harassment and brutality, which is still going on. And we also deal with the issue of education, improving the local schools, getting parents and students involved in the schools as well in community organizations.
Well, how large an organization is Northside Action for Justice? Because that's a lot of stuff that you seem to have taken on. And I know from my own experience that the issues are right in your face, particularly when you're knocking on doors and talking to people directly and hearing what they want to say. What kind of a staff do you have? What kind of office? How many people are out in the field? What are the issues you're focusing on the most these days, and what do you think people are most receptive to at this time?
We're only a year old, and like I said, we're a merger. So right now we're all volunteer. We don't have any staff at all, but we have a very dedicated group of volunteers. We have a core of about 25 or 30 people. The issue that the three issues that we're most focused in on right now are affordable housing, and Courage, which is a predecessor to Northside Action for Justice, really was the main group that organized the Uptown community and was pushing for getting housing that was affordable to low and moderate income residents at the Wilson Yards, and that was like an 11-year battle, but we'll talk about that more a little bit later. We just in November around the presidential elections put two referendums on the ballots in Uptown, two advisory referendums, one dealing with the issue of housing, one dealing with the issue of jobs. The one dealing with the issue of housing basically asked, should the city of Chicago adopt a policy whereby 40% of the TIF funds, tax increment financing funds, be used to preserve and develop housing that's affordable to residents that make under the median income, as well, in addition, using that money to acquire land, vacant lots, and foreclosed condo properties. That referendum won by a 2-to-1 margin.
Oh, wonderful.
And we also put a referendum on the ballot that asked, should the city of Chicago adopt a policy where there is a business that gets public funds, including TIF subsidies, and has more than 15 employees, that those businesses should be required to, 1, hire local community residents first, 2, pay living wages, and 3, allow the workers the right to organize without interference. That referendum won 4-to-1, and that was kind of similar to the big box ordinance that had been introduced and had the majority of votes, but Daley was able to, scale veto, and then the veto wasn't able to pass. So we just, and that one 4-to-1. We passed those two referendums, and we will be carrying out actions around those referendums in the communities.
So what happens if a referendum passes? It doesn't mean anything in law. It's just a kind of a guideline, a message to the powers that be.
Right. It doesn't have any binding power. We've found in the past, though, that the fact that you've done it allows you then to press your position. So, for example, in 1999, when the Wilson Yard project and debate was just getting started, we were able to put something called the Affordable Uptown referendum on the ballot. And in that referendum, we asked, should the city use every available means and opportunity to develop new low-cost housing and preserve affordable housing. That won, 76% of the people voted yes on that. And then subsequently to that, whenever there were debates, either in the city council and the community, we were able to use that as a way to show, which we know that the great majority of community residents, 1, support building a more affordable housing, and 2, think it's the main priority in terms of the community. Some of the other issues that we're working on is the issue of community justice and the police. And Northside Action for Justice actually has a community cop watch. We have a group of volunteers that goes out in Uptown in the 23rd District primarily, but also in the 20th. But we've also been up here in Rogers Park, some also. And the purpose of that group is to watch and to monitor what's happening with the local police. And they, observe, they take notes, et cetera, and we follow that up with meetings with the local district commander. We're using that to monitor the police and then to work on changing some of the policies that still go on that create a lot of mistrust between the police and, young people in the community, specifically low and moderate income people and people of color. So we do a community police watch. We're active on the jobs issue. We were involved in the support of the Republic window workers and had a lot of people involved in those demonstrations and rallies.
Just thinking back to the early days in Uptown, there came out of Joint Community Union was a group called Citizens Alert, which was actually, we used to go watch the police and talk to them. Now, you did mention, I want to move on to the Wilson Yards, but you mentioned talking to the local district commander, and I know we have a new commander in our district, which is, I think, the 20th. Are you in the same district?
The areas we cover are 20, 23, and 24.
And are you finding that the commanders in those districts are open to discussion these days? Are they better than, say, when you and I first started in community organizing in the old days when we didn't get much support from the police?
They're definitely better. Obviously a lot of that has to do with the work of predecessor organizations like the Black Panther Party, the Young Lords, the work that we did, back in the old days. It also has to do with the election of the Harold Washington administration and a whole change in key people in the police department. We do, specifically in 23rd, have a relationship in that district where we have regularly scheduled meetings with the district commander whereby at least we have the opportunity to bring to her attention what our issues and concerns are. So yeah, they're definitely more responsive. But like I said, there's still a lot of issues and problems with police that are out on the street.